Morning, everybody. Welcome once again to another episode of the Sales Manager Academy podcast. As always, I'm your host, Omar, and we talk about anything having to do with leadership in the retail setting, specifically in boutique retail, right? So think wireless retail, AAV, appliances, everything outside of what you would think of a traditional big box retail organization, right? A lot of times, what we offer the physical product is not the actual product we sell. It's more of a service that we're offering. So it's a little bit different. We typically work with smaller teams. We're not talking about doing, a 60 to 100% person team. We're managing 60 to 100 people over the spread of a territory, right? Whether it's an area, a district, possibly even a region, depending on how big or small the organization is. And we don't have a very large footprint. We're not thousands of locations typically. We're somewhere in, the lower hundreds. Some are just regional where you might have 10, 20, 50 locations and you're trying to keep everything together and it feels like there's just no support. It feels like everything is kind of put together with duct tape and you're trying to figure things out as you go. I'm here to help you become better at not just being a leader, but also retaining your team and getting performance up. Because at the end of the day, when your team feels that you're actually taking care of them, you're investing time and energy, you're training them, they're willing to do more because you're spending more time and you're doing more for them as well. Not just because they're working there, but a lot of the training and development that you do also helps out in different aspects and areas of their life, not just professionally, but also personally. And that's what we want to do. We want to help people grow. We want to grow ourselves professionally. We want to grow our careers. We want to do more than we feel we're doing in a more meaningful way. We don't want to be stuck doing a bunch of busy work, which it feels like we do a lot. Uh, and today we're going to talk about something that's a little bit more out there, right? Because I talk a lot about training, about developing your people. And today we're going to talk about something that you guys may not understand on the face of it, which is the team does not need more training, they need more reps. And that's part of what I talk about when we're doing coaching, when we're doing uh, training and developing. We're not talking about doing a bunch of different things and seeing what sticks. We're talking about going back essentially to the basics and focusing on things that matter, things that actually are going to bring a difference and make a difference. It's kind of like when you're on a team, a sports team, and you're focusing on getting better. You don't go and focus on a bunch of a thousand different things. You focus on the basics and you make sure you have the basics down pat. And then you can experiment on different things. But until the basics are like the back of your hand and you know exactly what's going on, you know what you're doing without having to think about it, you're not doing anything else. You have to get the basics down. You have to know the basics before you can do anything else. And that's what we're talking about, right? Because you have to build those sales muscles through daily practice, not through an 8 hour training course, not through an e-learning. That's just a one-time data dump. And without the reinforcement, it's just wasted energy and time for everybody. For those that created the content, for the way it's distributed, for the ones facilitating it, and for the person essentially getting that information. Without the follow-up portion, without getting the actual usage out of that information, it just wasted time for everybody. And we don't want to do that. We want to make sure that the time we spent is impactful for everybody involved. Now, you don't get strong by reading about push-ups, right? Think about that. Your reps don't get better by reading about sales or, salesmanship or sales skills. That doesn't work. Okay. Training is important, yes, but it's not enough. What creates real sales growth is daily focused practice. And that's what you do when you're doing coaching sessions, whether it's a 15-minute framework, right, from what we have here, or whether it's your own type of training and developing coaching sessions that you do. But you have to get those practices in because it's daily repetition. If your reps aren't drilling their skills like athletes, don't expect championship results. You can't expect them to practice what they're supposed to be doing during game day. And game day is whenever they're in front of a customer or client. Those are wasted opportunities for everybody involved. We don't want to do that. We don't want to do that to our customers and our client base. We don't want to do that to our employees. We want to make sure that they're getting the most value for everybody when they're in an interaction. And you do that by making sure that your team is doing coaching sessions during downtimes. I'm not saying fill up every single minute of downtime with a coaching session, but you have to have focus sessions planned out, scheduled, so everybody knows this is what we're going to be doing during this period. We're going to be getting better. We're going to be practicing little by little to become better because 1% better every day leads to better results than trying to do an 8 hour data dump or punish people by having come in, early morning on whatever day to get them out of, whatever. We don't want to do that. We want to make sure that we're focusing on giving them what they need to help them become better. Now, knowledge isn't the bottleneck. You can tell your people, you can have them read whatever they want to become better, but that's not the bottleneck. What the bottleneck is repetition. When your team doesn't get enough reps in for the information they're practicing, for their skills they're trying to learn, they're not going to know what to do next. You have to be consistent about it. That's why coaching as a skill, as a practice, as a leader, you have to do it consistently. You have to coach your people on a consistent basis. Spend time training and developing it. Make it a routine. DMs, area managers, regionals. Make it part of your visits to do actual coaching sessions. Not these fucking write ups, not these pips. That is not a coaching session. Whoever told you and trained you that, hey, a write up is the same thing as a coaching, they're out of their fucking mind. They don't know what the fuck they're doing. Plain and simple. That is where you need to understand. And execs, you have to understand that part too. It's hard to believe that if I write somebody up, that's what do you mean that's not a coaching session? If they don't perform better, I'm going to get them out of the organization. You're not even trying to get them in the fucking organization by giving them the proper support that they need. Like that's not how things run. Imagine being on a fucking sports team and you never having any kind of actual team practices and on day of game day, the coaches are out there reprimanding every single person on the team and telling them if they don't get their act together, they're off the team. Well, when the fuck are we doing practices? Well, they're supposed to be doing it on their own. Okay. But when are they doing actual team practices? When are they going to get in line? When are they learning best practices to work together as a team to make sure that this department and this department work together well so that things don't fall through the cracks? It makes a difference. Now, practice is the same thing when you're talking about coaching. We've talked about the 15-minute framework and how you have different sections. And one of the biggest sections on there is the visualization practices. Visualization is another form of practice, and it's far more influential, especially in what we're doing when it comes to sales, than role playing in a traditional sense. I've said it before, if you do an actual role play session, don't be the dumbass that does a role play and is the hardest customer that you're never going to run across for, the entirety of a year or two. We don't care about that person. They are insignificant to the number of interactions that we come through and come across on a daily basis. We want to focus on the client interactions, the customer interactions we have on a more consistent basis. Because when we get better at speaking and engagement with the people that we come across the most, close rates increase dramatically. And oftentimes it's not this very big change that needs to happen to help close rates change and to improve. It's the little things that happen during the interaction. It's the words that are said. It's how they're said. It's how people visualize the interaction going. When your people are primed to sell because they've been focused on coaching sessions, they've been practicing it, they've been rehearsing it in their brains, in their minds, they've been visualizing themselves through those interactions, it becomes better because they have a better way of understanding how the interaction is going to go. They have a framework that's now being built. They have the neural paths created now that have been actually, practiced. Those muscles are actually trained. They've been utilized multiple times. So the connection is strong and their willpower is stronger so they can do more throughout the day. Don't let that go over your head. It's just like going to the gym. The more you use the muscles, the more you can do with the less amount of work exerted. That's why coaching our people is important. And that's why us as leaders becoming better at coaching is super important because we can do it more often and not feel as taxed and get more results out. And that's how your people are going to feel when they start doing these practices, when they start doing these visualization practices, and they start seeing that, hey, we are really doing more with less. I am making more money with less work. And it feels like less work because they're not having to consciously think about a lot of different things. It's more natural. And that comes through repetition, through practice. And that's where the visualization techniques come into play because they see themselves doing it. They see themselves running into objections and how they've overcome those objections. They get over the rejection because they've done it so much in their brains that they understand some customers are going to say no, and that's perfectly fine. I'm not going to close everybody today, but I can at least grab their information and reach out to them later. Maybe something in the future changes. They have my contact information. There's more open lines of communication, and that makes things easier and better for the future of not just the employee, but also that location. That's where that becomes better for everybody involved. And it's these little things that will start to occur and start to happen. And that's why you want to make sure that you're doing what you can as a leader by coaching and training and developing your people. Don't data dump content, right? Don't data dump a bunch of training information. Focus in on, you know, drilling those reps, on building that muscle memory so that they don't have to constantly be thinking about everything. And you'll see how fast, not even your new employees, but also your veterans employees can change their performance and become better at what they're doing, right? Skill building happens in short bursts, not in sitting in a long ass meeting. You guys know this. As a DM, as an area, as a regional, you know that your days are stuck by phone calls, meetings. Half of them could have just been a fucking email. Like you're wasting our time. There's more important things that can happen in the day. But somebody needs to waste time. I'm not going to name names, but you got people that don't understand what is actually occurring, right? So they feel that by doing meetings and holding up people's time like that, they'll get a better idea of what's actually happening. And there's better ways, but that's for a different conversation. Right now, we're talking about getting your people trained up, about being a leader who actually coaches and develops their peoples. And by micro learning, micro coaching, you beat wasting hours of data dumping. I talked about this the other day where compared to traditional, and remember, traditional methods are outdated methods, and we have so much research that showcases you shouldn't be doing it this way. But there's so many people out there, so many companies that still do training and developing the old way and wonder why they're not getting different results. When the research shows by focusing in on micro learnings, on smaller portions of more solidified information, right? You're focusing in on a more narrow bandwidth of data, of practices. People can retain that a lot better because not only are they getting a small portion right now, they can turn around and use that information right away. And by doing that, that reinforces the behavior and allows them to retain it because not only do they learn it, it's fresh, I've used it. Compare that to an 8 hour training where, if you're lucky, they've broken it down to just 4 2 hour sessions where in each session you're focusing in on one thing. But now you're going through and literally half the day is wasted because by the time you reach the halfway point, you've been inundated with so much information. It's very difficult for everybody to remember everything that was done. Because, yeah, you may have run some practices then and there, but that's in a controlled environment. That's not in the real world. That's people role playing those pie in the sky customers. Either the customer was the best customer in the world and bought everything, or the customer was the most ridiculous person in the world and fucking said no to everything and made the whole situation bad. It doesn't work because it doesn't help you actually retain the information properly. And that's the difficult part. And that's why visualization is a much better partner when it comes to practicing and especially role playing, because then the individual can actually visualize a better outcome. And it's funny if any of you guys play D&D. I haven't personally. I've been wanting to, uh, but there's research that's actually gone in to show that people that play D&D, it's in case you guys don't know, the campaigns happen over a very long period of time. It's not like you play for a day and you finish the campaign. The campaign goes through typically several weeks, if not months, before it's finished. And there's this big backstory that the DM, the dungeon master will go ahead and share with everybody. But when people go through this, it feels more like shared experiences and lived experiences because the psychology behind it showcases that not only did they spend so much time in crafting this, they've also been visualizing the whole scenarios. And through the act of visualization, it becomes very real, as though they've lived this. So not only does camaraderie obviously go up, but they have a better understanding of the whole situation. They feel different about it, about the outcomes, the decisions that they make. And that is a simple act of visualization. That's how impactful that is. And we're just asking our people, I'm asking you as leaders to just spend a little bit of time training your people and getting better at utilizing visualization as a technique. And you'll see how much that will transform your people's performance and your results as a leader. Because remember, your team's performance is a direct correlation of your leadership. So if the team's performance is bad, that is the direct correlation of your leadership towards the team and the lack of training and developing. So don't be that person. Focus on training, right? Don't do these 2, 3 hour long coaching sessions. Focus in on more impactful sessions, on smaller bite-sized chunks that essentially is micro learning, right? You're chunking information and you're not only learning it better, but it's being utilized right away and it's actually sticking. They're actually learning it and understanding, oh, this is why I want to do this way instead of the other way. It becomes so much better. And if you're wondering, hey, what can I do? Simple. Take a simple skill, whether it's an objection, whether it's um, a certain statement, right? Whether it's an opening statement, it's a question ask. Just do a simple 5 minute practice round with the rep today. And if you're wondering, well, how can I get them to visualize what they're going to say? How can I get them to actually practice what they're going to say? Simple. Grab the 15-minute template on the link in the bio or the link in the video description, download it, use it. It's free to use. On there, you have a section where they can write out what they're going to say, when they're going to say it, and how they're going to say it. They've literally, by act of writing it out, psychology starts to kick in and they visualize themselves saying it. They visualize how that interaction is going to go and it becomes real. That's the power of psychology. Very, very useful. And it gets your people to a different level, different skill level. And you'll have people asking you, the hell did you do? Did you write everybody up? Did you make everybody go to, a fucking Saturday training every single month? Like every single week of the month to get to this level? It's like, no. I invested time. I spent, time training and developing my people. And we do small coaching sessions. And this is the outcome of that performance, right? This is the consequence of me investing time in developing my people and training them up. They become better. So they work less and make more money. And as a consequence, I, as a leader, also make more. That's the beautiful thing of spending time training and developing your people. And at first, I know what you're going to say. You're going to say, Omar, I just don't have time. I don't have enough staff. I get that. Make time. Be deliberate that I am going to do this. Because when you start doing it and you start seeing results, I guarantee, bar right a major recession, um, guaranteed that you will get an increase of headcount, or at least they will stop cutting your headcount so that you don't have to worry about, well, if I lose somebody and I can't replace them. No, they're going to be okay. If we lose somebody, their locations do very well. We need to replace, we need to bring somebody in to ensure production stays there. And that's what you want to focus on. At the very least, you won't lose headcount. On the flip side, you're more than likely going to get an increase, or if you ask for an increase, it'll be justified. And it's going to be very hard for the home office to say, well, no, because they'll be able to look at the performance and see how well the performance has been doing, even when it's an off season. That's big. Now, remember, guys, as a leader, you are a coach. Your salespeople are the athletes. You are not the hero. You are not the quarterback. You are the coach that sits on the sidelines helping your team to goal, to victory, right? You can give them the overall plays that they can use, the strategies. It is up to them to implement it in real time. The store managers, the assistant managers, those are the quarterbacks of the team, not you. As an area manager, as a district manager, as a regional director, you need to understand that. You going into a location does not mean you are there to save the day. If that is what you're doing, you're taking away from the team's performance. You're taking away from their autonomy to actually become better. And what you're telling them is that you guys aren't worth anything. I'm the only one who matters in this entire area, not you guys. That's not what you want to do. That's not the messaging you want them to take away. You want them to take away the messaging that my leader really wants us to succeed. They really want me to succeed. So they spend time on training and developing me to make sure that I can level up my skills, that I become better. Whether I stay here or move on, they're making me better. They actively tell me that they want me to replace them, right? The employee is saying in their head that my leader wants me to replace them because that means that they've trained me up to be able to do their job. And when they think about that and they see themselves, they start seeing themselves in a future that they may never have imagined, that they didn't think could be possible. And you would be surprised how a little bit of motivation and attention goes a long way for people. Because who else in their life has given that to them? Be genuine about it. You really need to care about your people to want them to move up, to want better for them. Because when they do better for themselves, in part, that also means that you do better for yourself. You take care of other people, and in turn, they will take care of you. So don't put yourself before your people. Take care of your people, train and develop them. Spend time doing that, and that goes a long way, right? Athletes, for instance, don't train once and hope it sticks. We talk about that all the time. You guys know this. You guys know your teams that you follow. They have their training camps. The best players on those teams also train during off season when they're not in training camps. But they also make sure that they take time to take care of themselves, right? Vacations, downtime, stuff like that. But they also do warm ups during game days, right? They don't just stay stagnant. They need to ensure that they're ready for game day. And that's the important thing about doing small coaching sessions, making sure that we're doing training and developing on a consistent basis. We don't need to do a long ass fire drill. We don't need to be worrying about, oh, these KPIs are down. We need to hit. when you're training and developing your people and doing it on a consistent routine, on a consistent basis, that stuff gets attained. The question becomes, how much above goal are we going to end at the end of the month? Because your team's not having to put, the pedal to the metal. They're not having to take, their foot off the gas. They're at a consistent beat and it just continues to move forward. And that's the beautiful thing. And that's why you want to make sure that you're focusing in on coaching that has the right set of skills, that has the right implementation, such as visualization practices. You'd be surprised how often that doesn't happen. In a training session, think about it. When was the last time you did a training session and you retained all of the information, or at least 80% of the information that you went over, that was gone over there in detail, and have used that information, have used those skills, use those practices? I'll tell you firsthand, I take a lot of notes. I have hundreds of these pads that I've written down notes over the years. And there's a lot of stuff I remember. There's even more that I've not used. And I can tell you that a lot of that's from, a lot of data dump courses where it's like, shit, it's a lot of information. Well, how am I going to use this? Because it's not like I can just turn around and use it right away. That's where it becomes different. So practice on using visualizations techniques during your coaching sessions. That is going to elevate how your coaching session is not only delivered, but also received by the individual. There's obviously a lot more aspects to the coaching sessions, to, doing effective 15-minute coaching session that yields great results. But mastering the visualization aspect of it goes far and above anything else that can be done. It's that simple and that effective. So don't let it go by the wayside. Train your people, be the coach, be the guide, be the mentor. Remember, your people are the hero of the story, not you. And that's okay because by them being the hero and achieving the results, you as a leader, as a DM, the area manager, the regional, you'll go to heights that you couldn't believe before. So, guys, I'll leave it there for today. As always, I want to say thank you for joining us here at the Sales Manager Academy podcast. I'm your host, Omar, and I'll catch you on the next one.